Why is the birth of Jesus the central event of history? Why is it not the invention of the internet or the printing press or the, Bannockburn in 1314? Why is that not the central event of history? Or we all have different important events in our history. Why is the birth of Jesus the central event of history? Well, I grew up in a time when we still use the words or the letters AD and BC to describe time. And to the end of my day, I will continue to use these because I regard using CE and BCE as ridiculous, as an invention of academic elites who are seeking to remove Christ from the reality illogically. Why is it illogical? Well, AD is Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. It doesn't mean after death, by the way. It was Latin. BC does mean before Christ. CE stands for Common Era, and BCE stands before Common Era. And the reason given for doing that was because other religions might feel offended at dating according to Christ. Yeah, but here's the problem. The CE and the BCE are still entirely with the birth of Christ. It doesn't make any sense to say that. You should go with maybe the Islamic system of dating. You can go with different kinds. I mean, even in Christianity, you had the Gregorian calendar and others as well. But I don't think it's that big an issue. But for me, it is absolutely crucial that Christ, and particularly the birth of Christ, and I'll tell you why the birth of Christ is the central event in human history. Tom Holland's Dominion, which I can't recommend highly enough. I'm a big Tom Holland fan. He talks about it being the greatest story ever told. And Dominion is Holland's explanation of how we have the values we have today because of Christianity, writing as a non-Christian. And the way he came to this was, he's a historian. He's written great books. I told you I'm reading one on Pax, on ancient history in particular, or Roman history. He's a superb historian. But he wrote a book about Islam and the beginnings of Islam. And he had such pushback, death threats, everything. Channel 4 actually did a series in the UK of that book, and they were threatened to close it down because it just looked at some of the facts about the life of Muhammad and what you could find. And he was so stunned by this that he went back and he looked again at his earlier history, and he started thinking, how did things change? Because the Roman world wasn't a good world. The Roman world, I mean, if you read Dominion, he'll go into details which are a bit gruesome at times. But basically, the Roman world thought it was perfectly fine to have slaves, perfectly fine to abuse children, and perfectly fine to kill the poor. They had no problem with any of that. Caesar boasted that he'd killed 1 million French people. That's horrendous, even if you don't like French people. It's absolutely horrendous. You cannot believe. But that was considered to be something of strength. Holland, as he looks at this, he says, the reason we've changed and the reason we have these values is because of Christianity, and the coming of Christ into the world ultimately changes everything. Now, we've got people who are trying to change it back. If you take Christ out of the world, where are we going to end up with? So I think that the world changes in this way. It's not that everything becomes perfect. When the angels sing, on earth, peace to those on whom his favor rests, well, we've just sang, we've had 2,000 years of pain and war and so on, and we're going to continue to have that. And Jesus himself promised that. So how has it changed? Because it's as though we've got a virus and we've been given the medicine and it's gradually working its way through. I think that the world without Christ is a horrendous place. And maybe this is for your Christmas table. What would it be like to celebrate Christmas without Christ? And that's a subject worth talking about.